I'm privileged to be asked to share with you today my experiences in the treatment of CLL from 2012 to present. And I am a patient at the Royal Liverpool Hospital, and you've heard so many wonderful things today. I really do believe we are exceptionally lucky, and I always call the Royal my beloved Royal. Now, we all remember Alice in Wonderland, yes? Remember Alice? When she spun down the black swirling hole and one day met the Cheshire Cat, she asked, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" Rubbing his nose. "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to," said the cat. "Don't much care where," said Alice. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," said the cat. Thankfully, the Cheshire Cat is non-existent in my team at the Royal. Yes, I am a member of a team who directed and sent me on the right way with my treatment. And thankfully, there is no Mad Hatter. For a while in 2012, I hadn't been feeling great. I would get very tired in the afternoon, at 2 p.m. to be precise. I'd had the flu jab in November 2011, which I reacted funnily to. Large lumps under my arms, and I wasn't as bubbly as usual, without realising there was something big going on inside of me. My lymph nodes reappeared bigger than ever in April 2012, and so I consulted my GP. She gave me a dose of antibiotics for a week, but that didn't work, and I revisited her, and she decided to send me to my local hospital, to Arrow Park on the Wirral. I was further sent to Elm House at Clatterbridge and had a biopsy. I was put under a breast specialist, and when she realised what it was, I was quickly referred to my haematology at Arrow. The biopsy showed something not quite right, and I was put on watch and wait by my specialist, who diagnosed CLL. Of course, with most cases, this was the right thing to do, but things were changing on a weekly basis, and I really was not feeling too good. Hence, my family wanted me to get a second opinion. My girls, the middle one and the younger one, came with me to the Royal to see Professor Pettit. Prof took over, set the scene, diagnosed CLL, and mentioned a clinical trial called Arctic. I thought a clinical trial was about crazy drugs and being a guinea pig. How wrong I was. I quickly learned that it's about how much of what drugs work best. Within the time it took to get the second opinion, my tumours had doubled in size, but knowing I was going to be able to access the clinical trial was comforting. However, I had to wait a couple of weeks to ensure I was going to be receptive to chemo. That was the hardest part, living in limbo. So bingo, I was going to be receptive to chemo. Everything was brilliantly explained to me, and I knew what had to happen. Jane and Prof made sure that I had good sickness drugs to counteract my symptoms whilst waiting to start the first chemo in August 2012. As I mentioned, the trial I'm on is called Arctic, ARCTIC. The Royal were a bit late getting onto this trial, which is under the auspices of Professor Peter Hillman we've heard about at Leeds University. There were only 4 of us chosen to be on the trial at the Royal. I certainly got friendly with my fellow patients and felt a connection to them when I saw them at clinic. There were 2 arms of the trial, FCR, which is fludarabine, cyclophosphamide, and rituximab. Are you impressed? I can say all those words. And FC Mini-R, which also included fludarabine, cyclophosphamide, and rituximab, along with mitoxantrone. I was chosen to go on FC Mini-R. I'd been given all the information and hoped that I would be chosen to have FC Mini-R. I really don't know why. However, as the trial was well underway in other hospitals throughout the country and getting some impact, it was found that those on FC Mini-R were not doing any better than those who were on FCR. So I only had 2 cycles of FC Mini-R. There were 6 cycles of chemo within the trial, and Prof assured me that if I got to number 4, I would be giving myself a good chance of remission. Wednesdays for me were clinic days. As long as my bloods were okay, I could have treatment the following day in Ward 7 day ward at the Royal. I dreaded Wednesdays because I wanted to just get on with the chemo treatment on the following day. I don't think I was nice to Phil on Wednesdays, and I hated the journey through the tunnel to the hospital. I knew my immunity would be low. I only kept in contact with people who were well. I maintained all the protocols Jane told me about, that is, what foods not to eat, how to keep hygiene at an optimum. In fact, we kept the house so clean, I think you can still smell bleach in my house today. I'm very embarrassed to say that during the periods of rest because of my treatment, I got addicted to Celebrity Big Brother, watching others sleep as and when I couldn't, and I also took a hit on the debit card with QVC when I wasn't watching CBeebies. CBeebies. I'm saying CBeebies because I'm a grandmother and I also have, but Celebrity Big Brother. To be honest, cycle 1 wasn't so good. Cycle 2 was okay. Cycle 3, bit of both. Cycle 4, okay. And cycle 5, not too bad. I kept a diary through my treatment. I've got 2 big diaries. And this helped me to explain to Jane what had been going on between cycles. And it was a good leveller for me as well. So chemo was stopped at cycle 5, as my immune system was suffering. Prof and Jane were satisfied that this was a good point for me to stop. I got a remission in February 2013 after having the bone marrow test you've all heard about. The nasties had disappeared, both in the blood and the bone marrow. Tumours reduced. Then it was weird. I came out of the 5-month cycle, but I was very tired. I was diagnosed with the HMV virus, that's the human metapneumovirus. My bloods were low, I felt dreadful. I had to go for weekly bloods to clinic. I had to inject myself with filgrastim to boost my neutrophils. But then it was decided that I should have a blood transfusion, hoping this was going to make me feel like Superwoman. However, this did not quite happen. At home one day, I got upstairs, felt exhausted, very breathless, phoned Jane and went to hospital, and I was diagnosed with PCP. And PCP is pneumocystis pneumonia cerevisiae. For an accountant, you should be very pleased with these words that I'm able to say. And it is bacterial pneumonia. As soon as I got to the Royal, they organised hospitalisation. After a few days of being treated with cotrimoxazole, I started to feel much better. I spent 8 days in hospital in July 2013. I was sent home with the continuing medication for a further 2 weeks. It was the summertime, and I felt like I had got through everything, and I was on the right path. I had continual checking in with Jane and Prof, who were there for me. My girls and Phil could also see and also speak to Jane if they needed to get any assurance, and if they were unsure how I was feeling. That was 4 years ago, and I'm here today. I've retired from my very stressful but enjoyable full-time job, and now do consultancy work and lecture at one of our universities. My family say I've never looked so good, also down to Slimming World, a 10K walk each week, looking after my 18-month-old granddaughter 1 day a week, and smashing the debit card with QVC. I can tell you what's going on in Made in Chelsea and the Real Housewives of Cheshire, as I got into bad habits of watching bad telly. 6 months ago, the CLL cells were detected again in my blood, but at a minimum. This was found because of the checking protocols within my trial. I now have regular 3 monthly checks and a hotline to Jane. I've had a few chest infections over the winter months, but many folks who are well have also had the same. The outlook is bright, and I feel really privileged to have Prof, Jane, and the rest of the team pointing me in the right direction. So, as Alice replied to the Cheshire Cat when she asked which direction to go in, "So long as I get somewhere," she said, "Oh, you're sure to do that," said the cat, "if you only walk long enough." Thank you for listening to my journey.